To whomever finds this audio recording, my name is Riley Robinson. I was stranded on planet 4546b when the ship I was traveling on, the Aurora, was shot down by some kind of quarantine enforcement platform. I appear to be infected with some kind of bacterial infection, though I appear to be asymptomatic so far. So, if you find this audio recording, know that it is quite possible that I have not made it. I will keep on recording my activities in an attempt to help future individuals that may end up stranded on this forsaken planet. Perhaps my failures and my misadventures can aid you in your survival. Thus far, I have made my base in the relatively safe shallows and kelp forests, but I feel it is time to go deeper, into the depths. But the ecology of this planet is so amazing. I aim to construct a research station and aquarium that Bart Torgel, a previous individual stranded on this planet, would be proud of. And to do that, I need specimens. Seeds, cuttings, eggs, and live specimens. The safe shallows are certainly the best place to start for this. The water is clear and there are loads of different species. Any rock present in the area is covered by a myriad of filter feeders such as corals, along with algae, writhing weed and many other plants that photosynthesize in the shallow, clear water. These plants will beautify any of the aquarium exhibits I set up in my new base. Additionally, the small fish I am able to catch will almost certainly breed, if the containers are large enough and provide the correct breeding conditions for them to spawn. One critter I will not miss is the crashfish. These little guys spend most of their time hiding in the sulfur plant, with which they have a mutualistic relationship. However, whenever they feel that the sulfur plant is threatened, they are willing to sacrifice themselves through violent explosions in an attempt to keep the sulfur plant and the eggs therein safe. And I have had many encounters with this evil little guy. But at least we now have a few crashfish eggs to hatch in our future aquarium. They will most certainly be an interesting addition. But I will also need a kelp forest exhibit, so the species therein should also be included. I found some large, luminous green egg at the base of the kelp plants, and am most keen to find out what hatches from it. Due to the high abundance of nutrients within the kelp bed environment, there is a large number of filter-feeding fish present, feeding on the plankton that blooms in these nutrient-rich conditions. And these fall prey to the drooping stingers, hanging from the ceilings of caves in the area. These drooping stingers remind me of the blue bottles, also known as Portuguese men of war, and jellyfish I used to observe on Earth. And like the blue bottles, these drooping stingers appear to consist of a number of different species living together as a colony, with each species fulfilling a specific role. Unlike blue bottles, however, which drift along the currents of the Earth's oceans, stingers are sedentary, and it is possible that their bright bioluminescence is a way to attract fish to them, in order to be captured using specialized stinging cells that inject potent toxins into their prey. Unfortunately, I will not be able to take a specimen of these along with me. After collecting a few samples of plants growing in my outdoor growth beds, I was back on the Cyclops. Unfortunately, my sea moth Gary had sustained a bit of damage during my recent expeditions, but I was able to repair it quite easily from the repair bay below it. And then it was time to depart. I had briefly scouted ahead with my sea moth and marked a suitable location for my research and observation base, a small outcrop in a dark but beautiful environment. When I scouted it, it did in fact appear quite safe. Let's hope it remains so. As I started heading south-southwest, it was time to say farewell to the blood grass plains, the reefbacks and the light. Where I was going, I would be in the twilight zone, a depth at which very little light penetrates, but it is not yet completely dark throughout the day and night. As I passed an area with weird spires, most likely caused by wind erosion when this area was above the sea level, I came across a wreck I had already explored. But adjacent to it was a massive sinkhole, with yellowish glows originating from deep within. Time to go exploring with my sea moth Gary. A weird vent was present within this sinkhole. It was definitely not a natural structure, but the purpose thereof is still unknown to me. As I watched, a peeper trailing yellow sparks zoomed past, and scanning of this individual revealed that it contained an enzyme that the PDA was not familiar with. This definitely requires a bit more investigation. While on my way to the weird glowing plants, I was distracted by rubies, of all things. At this depth, rubies would be formed under extreme heat and pressure, when some of the aluminium ions in aluminium oxide is replaced by chromium, forming a compound known as corundum, with the red color caused by the chromium present, and that is what we call rubies. While searching for more of these rubies, a moving yellow light attracted my attention. This light belonged to a tiny vertebrate called the Rock Grub. This species is most closely related to the bone shark, a fact I am struggling to wrap my head around. This tiny organism appears to be a grazer, scraping algae and coral off the rocks while likely emitting light to attract a breeding partner. While scanning the weird light-producing plant, however, the eye stalk, something punctured my arm straight through the wetsuit, leading to blood seeping into the water around me. A quick glance revealed the culprit, a weird, sponge-like plant called the tiger plant. This plant, probably related to sponges, contract their bodies to eject spines in the direction of larger creatures. It is quite possible that this reduces herbivory by fish, while any creatures actually killed by the spikes will decompose around the plant, fertilizing it and increasing its growth rate. Interestingly, it does not appear to attack the sea moth, which suggests that it is picking up a chemical present on the skin of living creatures, possibly in the epithelial layer of the skin, and reacts to that. Nearby, next to another clump of eye stalks and another tiger plant, something blue caught my eye. What could this be? Why, it's a time capsule. But where did this come from? Who left this behind? And does this mean I am not the only person trapped on this planet? Did this person actually escape? And if so, how? Within the time capsule, an image of the aurora greeted me, along with a poem titled Requiem. Under the wide and starry sky, dig the grave and let me lie. Glad did I live and gladly die, and I laid me down with a will. This be the verse you grave for me. Here he lies, where he longed to be. Home is a sailor, home from the sea, and the hunter home from the hill. This appears to be some ancient poetry from Earth by the poet Robert Louis Stevenson, composed sometime in the mid-1800s. Whoever left this here for me to find, thank you. You are clearly a scholar of poetry and a person of culture. I will cherish it and carry it all with me. Inside, there were also some useful tools, although they are now only spares for me to use. Continuing on, I seem to have taken a wrong turn, as the deep dark water seemed eerie with blood kelp and ghostweed rising up from the depths. This was not where I wanted to be. Hastening forward, I found the exit point to the brighter water above and continued on towards my new base location using my Cyclops. A short distance further, my Cyclops' camera picked up the eerie blue glow of anchor pods. Found only in the deeper water of the Grand Reefs, where I was to build my base, these gas-filled bulbs swell as the plant matures, until they burst, releasing their spores into the surrounding water. Whether this kills the plant, I do not know, but it is possible that these plants are monocarpic, meaning one-fruited, and only reproduce once before they die. But I believe this will be the perfect place for me to build my research base, here on an outcrop next to one of these anchor pods. At this depth, however, water pressure exerted on any structure, and technically also my body, is far greater than at the ocean's surface, and it will be necessary to provide sufficient support through the use of foundations and reinforcements when building my research base. While swimming back to my Cyclops to acquire more building material, I spotted a warper hanging around in the area. Definitely something to keep an eye out for. But something weird happened during this supply run. While going through the lockers on the Cyclops, I was randomly teleported to the top of my Cyclops, as if by magic. The effect of water around me was also suddenly missing, and I found myself plummeting towards the ocean floor. Yet, before I reached the ocean floor, it was as if I dived into the water again, and I continued on as normal. Then, as I entered my base, I could have sworn I saw a school of hoopfish swimming straight through it. Is this all just a dream? Perhaps a nightmare, if I'm honest. The most important section to build first in my base would be for power generation. In my case, the use of lantern fruit to be used in the bioreactors present in the triple-story tower on the side of the building. Attached to it, a scanner room. I have a feeling it will prove most useful in acquiring more materials. And now, time to start building my aquarium. I decided on the use of the alien containment units, as they should provide the necessary environmental stimuli for eggs to hatch, and small bait fish should also be able to reproduce within them. Scientific discovery relies on efficiency, and signs to indicate the layout of the base is therefore essential. The turnoff to the Safe Shallows exhibit has been clearly marked, while the turnoff to the power-producing spire has been labelled Snap, because, well, we've got the power. A quick look around from the conning tower of my Cyclops revealed that the warper is still hanging around in the area, but it is not about to spoil my fun. I quickly extended my base towards the right side of the entrance and attached a moon pool for my Seamoth to be recharged easily. But this will require a lot of power, and it was therefore essential to top up all the bioreactors in the power spire. Even though lantern fruit do not generate power the quickest, it is readily accessible in my case, and will power the base over time. But now, time for some exploration. Initial scans show that I am building in a deep trench-like area dominated by the Grand Reef biome. There is, however, a part of the Aurora ship located about 200 meters from my base. Although I am familiar with the majority of the scraps around the wreck, I did find a new plant, the membrane tree, so called due to the plant having a brain-like appearance. This is, however, not a single species, and indeed consists of various coral living in a symbiotic relationship with each other. Additionally, a number of microorganism species appear to be living within the large translucent dome of this organism, where warmer water is present. I must remember to collect a specimen of this plant at a later date, when the aquarium is properly up and running. Nearby, I managed to locate the fragments of the prawn suit drill arm, which will be a worthwhile thing to make, as it will allow me to drill the large deposits of metals and minerals I have observed during my travels to date. Eventually, I also found an entry point into the wreck. Time to look for some goodies. Unfortunately, the wreck did not contain anything of value to me, but here's a tip for anyone thinking of diving in a wreck. Watch your oxygen levels. With around 60 seconds of air left, I started heading back to Gary. However, I somehow started losing my way, and the more I started panicking, the more I got lost. Everything looked the same, and with each breath I could sense my doom approaching. With each breath, panic rose. A few wrong turns later, I did however manage to find a way out of the wreck. But alas, I was nowhere near my Seamoth. I felt the world closing around me, my vision getting darker with each breath as I looked frantically for my salvation. But huzzah, I made it. Next time, however, let me not tempt fate. After taking a moment to catch my breath, I was off again. Time for some more exploration. The area I was in appeared relatively lifeless, although schools of fish periodically did swim past. My Seamoth sonar was proving most useful, as each time I bounced sound out, more and more of the landscape around me was revealed. At one point, I came across a barren, sand-covered wasteland, almost as if trampled by many large creatures. The barren, sandy environment seemed to stretch off into the distance, though initial scans showed no signs of what could have caused this devastation. Then, as I rounded an outcrop, I saw it, the smallest of the Leviathan species on planet 4546b, the Sea Treader. But not one, a whole family, traveling as a herd. Very much like elephants on Earth, this appeared to be a tight family group, with mature and young individuals together. They appear to be using their long beaks to probe for food in the sediment, while balancing on their two legs. As they moved and fed, they stirred up sediments, revealing shale outcrops which I could harvest for useful minerals later. The two squid tentacle-like feelers at the front of their bodies appeared to be chemoreceptors, enabling the Sea Treader to smell food and predators from long distances away, while the large, compound eyes provide them with excellent vision in the darkness that they dwell in. They appear to communicate with a number of trumpeting sounds, which travel long distances between the small herds grazing along their migration route. I quickly marked the location and headed on my way again, back to my base. However, as I sent out another sonar ping, it revealed a snake-like creature in the distance. Too long to be a normal snake, it did appear to move side to side. But as soon as the sonar disappeared, it did too, almost like a spectre, a ghost. But what could this be? As I approached its general location, it appeared, with a large, iridescent blue head, adorned with large hammerhead shark-like protrusions on either side of its head. It is possible that, like the head of the hammerhead shark, these protrusions aid it in swimming, reducing the energy cost of moving its massive body through the water. It is also possible that it is used in territorial disputes, or to attack large prey or intruders. This appears to still be a juvenile of the ghost leviathan, and they may in fact get much larger than this. On top of its torso there appear to be 6 fins, though these are likely vestigial in nature and no longer truly serve a purpose apart from minor directional changes. This individual was clearly not happy with my intrusion into its territory and let out a ghostly cry as it charged towards me. At such speeds, it is difficult for it to turn, and I used its lack of maneuverability to stay just out of reach of its massive maw as it chased me higher and higher into the water column. Eventually, however, I managed to give it the slip, and I allowed my heart to beat normally again. And though it was still there, I could at least now return to my base, safe in the knowledge of where it is. It is halfway between my base and the Sea Treaders, and I can avoid that area should I head towards the Sea Treaders again. Arriving back at my base, I felt a sense of relief. Not only have I managed to establish a foothold in the Grand Reef, but I have also observed 2 Leviathan-class creatures, and I survived. I wonder what tomorrow will hold though. For now, I will enjoy a nice evening off and get back to work on survival tomorrow. I hope to make another recording for you soon. Until then, to quote Bart Torgel, there's always the view.